All right, hey there. This is Granddad Honey again. Uh, Back on the channel. Just wanted to give some updates and some more background for family and to let you all know that there's still a lot of us, my generation and others, that are still plugging away out here, making the best that we can, doing the best we can for as many people as we can. The family uh, extension on I talked a lot about my dad's side of the family back a couple generations. My mother's generations went all the way back to the Revolutionary War. I think I might have mentioned that she has had a family member in every war from the Revolution all the way up through and including Vietnam. I was the representative for her family in the Vietnam War. Although I did not go to Vietnam, I was in during while it was still on. I was in from 1973 until 1979, and the war ended. Vietnam War ended in March of 1975. It was quite an experience to be in the military when that happened. I was working in medicine at the time, military medicine at a military hospital, and saw a great many of the soldiers and sailors and airmen that came back from Vietnam with deep-seated emotional problems. Although a lot came back and didn't, there were a good percentage that did. But be that as it may, so my mother and my grandmother were members of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and my wife is eligible also, being a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. But my mom, her full name was Dorothy Pauline Willis Honey. Her brothers, all three of her brothers were in the Army, in the armed forces during World War II. Her oldest brother, Howard Willis, who was my namesake. I was actually born on his birthday, and so they named me Howard William, and my middle name William, after my father. But my Uncle Howard was a master sergeant. He reached the rank of master sergeant in the Army, and his primary assignment for his final tour was as a master pigeoneer in the Panama Canal Zone. I believe he was on the Atlantic side, and they sent pigeons back and forth with messages from the Atlantic side to the Pacific side of the American forces to help control the traffic, the marine traffic through the Panama Canal. And then my Uncle Oddie, his name was Alton Willis. he was in one of the first units of the United States Army Rangers that and was in both Italy, fought in Italy and in North Africa, and was wounded in North Africa and was shipped home. I believe he went from North Africa to Spain to England, and he underwent more medical care at the hospitals in England, military hospitals there, the American military hospitals, and the British military hospitals for his injuries during combat. I don't know exactly what they were, but they were sufficient enough so that he was transported by stretcher all the way from North Africa back to the United States. When they landed in England, the medevac plane, if I remember right, it was a CH-47, which is a DC-3. He had his picture taken on a stretcher being carried off the airplane, and that picture was on the cover of Life magazine. And I'm not sure whether that was 1943 or 1944. But my family had that. My mother had that copy of Life magazine at one time. I haven't seen or heard of it in a long, long time. So maybe it'll turn up in the archives. So that was my Uncle Ottie. He was tough. He was a tough guy. And then my mom's final brother, Robert Willis, was in the United States Army, and he worked in communications. I don't know whether he was a wire handler or a microphone operator, or where exactly he was. But they're all passed away now. All in the late 90s and early 2000s. So that's kind of a synopsis of how intensive the dedication to government service was by that was passed on down to me and my brothers. It was apparent. It was a palpable feeling growing up, hearing about their exploits and their military service. I had more exposure to my dad's brothers because at one time 2 or 3 of them lived right here in the small town we grew up in, whereas my mother's brothers lived in counties near here, but we didn't get to see them as often. But when we did, it was always an event. anytime any of the family got together was an event of even with the smallest of ideologies that went along with it. I mean, even if we just had ice cream around the kitchen table, or roasted marshmallows in a fire in one of our uncle's backyards. It was always uh, memorable. It was always a good feeling. It was comforting and helped build character in us younger guys, us boys, and the girls too. My girl cousins, several of them became housewives, but several others went into business as secretaries and sales people. My one cousin was a car salesman. But it all fit together to give us a basis where now, when we're in our 60s and 70s, that remembering those times and when we have family get-togethers, even though they're rare and far between, they still have the same impact, the same quality of life, and the same good feelings. I guess that's what I am trying to promote the most, or at least partially, with our channel, with Ashby and mine's channel, is to propagate the goodness that is still prominent and prevalent in a great many hearts and minds of the American people. Even though right now we're going through one of the worst times in our history because of the circumstances and situations of society and the government and people in prominence. And then there's, on top of that, the financial structure has created terrible damage to the American psyche, the American dream, and the American desire to do well and be well. So I guess that's about all for now. I hope that some of you find my little tidbits interesting.
They probably will. It's always nice to hear. What's a good way to put it? Experiences from people of older generations and stuff to just get a different idea about what life was like, you know?
My perspectives from life.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some humdingers.
Yeah, that's why I think, what's his name? Dwayne, the guy that's the older gentleman like you on YouTube, is pretty famous, is because he shared a lot of his life, you know, and a lot of young men, or probably men similar his age, connected with him like that.
Oh yeah, he's the frontier looking guy with the hat.
Yeah, and the very big bushy beard, and
Yeah,
he has his like TAC Bible study or something. He has a few things on YouTube.
maybe I should start wearing one of my cowboy hats. I've got several cowboy hats. Maybe I'll start wearing them.
Yeah, that could be good for like part of your personality and persona and stuff, like on YouTube and stuff. I mean, not to show like a fake attitude or whatever, right? It's just one thing that
No,
might stand out.
well, wearing I've owned cowboy hats since I was a teenager, and worn them all my life. And if I'm not wearing a cowboy hat, I'm wearing a baseball cap. With the last 10, 12 years, the insignias have all been about the fire service or the military.
I'm thinking maybe we should do some Bible stuff too with our channel.
Yeah, that's a good thing too. Although my family has never, my parents, I went to Sunday school when I was a kid. The church that I went to was called the Federated Church, and it was multi-Christian, and I still have the Bible that I got when I was 8 years old from Bible class for being literate with some of the stories of the Bible that we learned when I was that age. And then we went to church every Sunday after Sunday school. That was always amazing. It was the church was only 2 doors from my house. Just 60, 70 feet was the entrance to the church. It was big and beautiful and amazing with the stained glass window in the front of the church was massive. It was 40 feet by 50 feet. And I always loved that. I still do. It's still there, but it's a lot of it's changed. It was partially burned down in the late 60s. Actually, it was arson committed by the preacher at the time. His son had serious emotional problems and set fire to the church. And he did it in such a way that it wasn't found for the smoke and the fire weren't found until it was going pretty good. Luckily, the fire department, my father was the chief at the time. Luckily, the fire department was only a block and a half away. They saved the church. It's still there. It's a private residence, but I'll always remember it as the Federated Church. And at one time or another, I either belonged to or went to the other 4 or 5 churches in town. There was 2 Baptist churches, and now there's the Seventh-day Adventists. There wasn't that when I was younger. Mormons, I don't know if there's a Mormon chapel. The Latter-day Saints around here or not. I don't think so. As a Catholic church that's been here for ages, there was one of the priests that was the head of our local Catholic church, St. Patrick's. One of my jobs when I was a kid was I delivered the local newspaper. Well, actually, it was the newspaper from the Buffalo Evening News.
Shoot, we're almost running up on 20 minutes, by the way.
Cool. And I used to collect on Saturdays, and most Saturdays he'd have me sit down and we'd have a cup of tea and play chess. And we had an ongoing chess game for weeks and weeks. His name was Father Francis Gardner. Extraordinary man. Simply extraordinary. And I had gone to church at the Catholic Church, the Episcopal Church, the Presbyterian Church, at one time or another. So I had built up a religious background, which is why now I'm a United States Fire Service chaplain.
Dang, my phone keeps zooming in a little bit here and there.
Well, on that note, I've got lots of other stories, I want to share them. In the meantime, keep yourselves well. Rely on each other. Keep your faith in God, and things will get better. Thanks for seeing.
Amen to that.
Bye for now.